Hey, how's it going? Jason here, and in this episode we're going to be talking about this Pyracantha tree I have right next to me. Alright, so as you can see, this tree is growing very nicely. It's got some strong shoots, and this is kind of the culmination of what happens after you keep up on your clip and grow. I had this tree about 6 years now that I've been working on it, but really all I've done is just kept up on my clip and grow. And from my previous videos, it kind of goes over how to do that clip and grow. And this is basically, I've just followed those steps on this one, and now it's time for some more maintenance on it. So if I move up a little closer, you can see that the shoots are much longer here. And really at this point, I've got most of the branches developed. It's really just kind of keeping this back into shape. Maybe I can get some more depth or at least some more height on these pad layers right here. And you can see I'm still developing some right here. This is a short one over here. And this section here, if I turn it a little bit, like for this one, it'll be a little bit longer right here. But luckily I've got some branches here that I can continue to let grow if I would want them, if I want those branches to get a little bit longer. If I zoom up a little bit and get focused on this one right here, you can see that the branches have developed really nicely. I've got a lot of new shoots right here, and basically this is from the spring to the summer growth right here, these guys right here, and you can see they're pretty long. So some of the branches here I think are at a good length, from the trunk of the tree about right here. So I can start to push them back. But over up here, I'd like these to be a little bit longer, so I can do two things. I can guy wire them down, or I can just wire them, and then what will happen is that I can let these grow and eventually clip those back when they're all lignified, which they are already, so I can clip them back right now. I can wire them down and then cut them back, and then I'll start getting those buds coming out to the sides right here, just like this, and that's how you sort of develop your pad layer, even as you continue to go when they get a little bit longer. So as you can see, the apex has grown a little bit out of hand right here, but luckily I've got the crown developed, so all I need to do is push those back and develop that crown. I actually have some guy wire on some branches here that what I did was I lowered them just to fill in the crown a little bit. I got one here, and I've got one branch on this side right here that I wanted to bring down just to fill in this gap right here. But as you're doing the clip and grow, you can make these adjustments as you go. So if you get a long branch like this one over here, this one right here, you can bring this one down into this spot. You can actually get this side to grow a little bit longer. What I'd like to see on this tree though is some more weight on this side, a lot more weight on this side. So I'm going to let some of these ones grow out a little bit, just to give it some more weight on this side. Right now it looks like a lot of it wants to grow on this side, so I'm going to push this side back and make this side, especially this gap area right here, a little bit more heavy. Alright, so I'm going to make a couple cuts to the tree just to push this back. Most of these pads have already been developed. I always like to keep pairs as I'm growing them out. So if I go from one primary branch, I like to split that off into the two. And then from those two, I like to go into my tertiary branches or split those off into pairs as well. What it does sometimes is prevents that knot if you've got more than 2 or 3 branches coming from the same spot. So if you look into here, I'll zoom up a little bit closer, but if you look in closely, it's a little hard to see because you got so much foliage in the way. But it is split off into pairs, and I find that's a pretty easy, systematic way of developing your pad layers. All right, so if I rotate this tree, so let me rotate it, you can see that I've got some nice full back branches right here. Let's go side view right here. Right here, I've got some really nice back branches. It's really full, and these are actually starting to need to be cut back. If I took a bird's eye view and did a triangle, you could see, so a bird's eye view, you could see that there would be a triangle right here. If I looked at it from the top, and this part right here would need to be cut back. That would include these ones, and even some of these ones right here. All right, so I'm gonna rotate again. You can see that the back is, it's pretty well developed. All that needs to happen is just that these branches need to be pushed back, and I don't really have to worry about too much of continued ramification at these ends right here, just because I need to push it back. If there's anything, I'll let some of these branches grow up, let some of the branches in the middle grow up and come out, so I can create a little bit more height to these pad layers as it goes. But you can see, look at this one right here. That one needs to be cut. So I'm going to go in here with my shears, cut some back. Wow, look at these. You can see that this side was definitely toward the afternoon sun right here. This one, where it was placed in my nursery, because these guys right here are growing like crazy. So it was definitely getting a lot of sun on this side. This probably should have been rotated. but these guys are growing really heavy and they need to be cut back. So I can go in, I can take a look at the tree, look at my triangles, and determine whether or not I need to let some of these grow. If I need to let some of these branches grow, for instance, if I need them to, say I needed this branch right here, this pad layer to grow a little bit longer, I'll let them grow. But you can see just from here, this one right here just needs to be cut back. Right here, it's just growing straight up. So right here, the growth is too high. So even if I saved it right there, this would be a pretty long segment that's coming off the end. This one right here, that's a little bit too long. So I'm cutting that back, hoping to develop some going to the side on the inside here. But as you can see, this one is different. I can cut this one back right here, and I've got a branch that was coming over the top that can eventually kind of fill in and give this pad a little bit more height. But basically you just go in and you make some micro adjustments like this. So if I go to the side view here, this guy's coming out of the way. I've actually got this one to the length that I like. I don't want this coming out any more than this. So all I had to do is cut this back. And these are all lignified, so I don't have to worry about the buds coming out. Even if it wasn't though, it's already coming out too far, so I don't have to worry about that too much. Okay. Now I'll just continue. I'll take a look at the tree. Here's a good example. This guy right here is that it's not a lignified branch. So if I want to let this grow and let this lignify first before I cut it, I can, which is what I'm going to do. Same with this one right here. That'll give you some nice, healthier branches all the way to the ends as well. Okay, so right here, I've got two. Take a look at my triangles on the side view here as well. I can see that these ones are way too long. I'll cut it back a few pairs. It's lignified inside, so I'll cut it back a few pairs just to develop some coming out this way. And this is just how you do your directional pruning. I mean, at some point, really, your branches are growing way too far, and you're going to just have to cut them back. And you can save some going out. And you're just pushing it back because like this one right here, I'll save the branches right here that were going this way. Make sure to save that. And then if I get some branches here coming this way, that's okay, but I'll probably end up keeping it cut back like there. Okay. Just like that, you get the pad layer a little bit more clean, If you've got some, on the bottom here, you can always pluck them just to make it a little neat, some leaves. But for the most part, once you have the clip and grow structure down like we talked about in the other videos, it's really just maintenance, and all you really need to do is pull out this guy. And then occasionally, if you really want to bring some branches down, like this one over here, you can still break out some wire and bring your wire cutter out. But for the most part, once you've got it maintained, you can go in here and start doing your cutting. See this guy right here? This is one that I'm going to save. It's not lignified yet. This right here, it's really flimsy. You can see like there. So I'll let that grow out. Maybe let this go a little bit more. But if I want to move this, like you can still make adjustments, even with guy wire, even with wire. I mean, if you use a piece of guy wire, I'll show you really quick. I got a little piece of wire right here, and you can kind of see that really it doesn't require much force to bring this down. So you can wire it to the pot. You can find a root. You can you can attach a wire from the bottom, poke it out from the bottom of the pot, anchor it there. But there's things that you can do just to wire that down or just anchor that down. And really, it sets really quickly once you do it, and it doesn't require much effort at all. All right, so I back the camera up again, or at least move the tree back. You can see that pad layer that was easy. It was like a few cuts, cut it back, and that's it. It's really all about getting that foundation to start off with before you do it. So here, there's choices you can do. I've got one that's going straight up. So you can choose to bring that down with guy wire, which is a really fast way of doing it. Or you can just cut it back and let one of these branches come out as well. It's entirely up to you. I think this one I want to kind of bring it back. I want to bring it down. I kind of want to go a little faster on this one rather than waiting on this guy right here. So we're going to bring this down with guy wire. First, I got some more I'm going to trim up. If I take a look at my triangles from this side, I know this guy's going out too far, so I'm going to save some of the branches that are pointed downwards, and I'm going to cut back to where I think those will start to develop really nicely. And this one could use some guy wire too. Now the ones going up, I'm going to go ahead and cut those. The ones going straight up, I'm going to go ahead and cut those. Like these guys we talked about, going straight up. Straight up. I'm going to cut that back. Save some of the branches that are going laterally, or save some of the branches that are going to the side, so those can start to develop. This one right here is going straight up, and I've got a lot of branches on the side that I can develop just to let those to come this way. I can see that these guys are kind of awkward right now. They're still sticking out, so we're going to do something about that later. This one is going straight up. Cut that back. And then you got to remember as you do this, as you rotate the tree, that you don't accidentally cut the branches that you're trying to save. So try to do it like in a systematic way. Otherwise, you might accidentally go back and be like, oops, I need to save that one, and then you accidentally cut it. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's going to grow back again, but it saves you growing season, which is always nice. And then the ones at the apex here, I have to decide how I want to fill in the apex. So what I'm going to do, I'll raise the camera a little bit so you guys can see the apex a little bit. All right, so I raised the camera. You can kind of see the apex. Here's this one that's going straight up that I'm going to bring down with guy wire. But up here is where I'm going to start making some cuts. Now I'm looking at the front right now, and you always want to make sure you're looking at the front when you make these decisions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if saving this is worthwhile, or if I should develop these side branches rather than up here. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut this one back. Okay. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to wait for some of these right here on the side to come out this way rather than rely on this really thick one. And I don't want a really thick branches coming off at the top. And then over here I got to decide as well. Okay, so this one right here, this one I didn't cut yet. I want to go right there. So I'm going to, this one I may have to wire. This one's a little bit easier if I wire because I need to go to the side as well. Problem with guy wire is sometimes you can really only go up and down or just back and forward. This one I actually would like to curve around a little bit, so I think I'm going to try to get that one to curve. I'll fill in that part of the crown really nice. Okay, work around here. Same with this one. This one's going to be nice and valuable. Put it right there. But I can see from the apex, there's a bunch that just need to be cut, and they just suck energy because the apex always grows so strong. So the ones going to directly to the top, I'm going to cut. The ones that have the ability to come down to the side, I'm going to save. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a little bit of wire and some guy wire to this tree. See this one right here, I'm going to have to bring it down. This one right there, I'm going to have to bring that down and then cut it back as well. So that's going to have to be two things that happen on this. Now what you can do is when you do your guy wire, I'm just going to reuse mine on this one, is you can look to see if you got some branches that are really set. When you go into here, usually the branches or primaries down here, especially where they connect to the trunk, are not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. They're going to stay exactly where you put them. So you can anchor it to there as well, just for doing something really quick. And that actually helps a lot, and it lets you kind of save some time. And you can also see on these other secondaries to see if they'll hold it as well. Sometimes they're strong enough to hold it as well. So in this case, looks like I have these are strong enough, but this wire is too short, so I gotta get another piece of wire. So I went back and got a much thinner gauge of wire. That one was way too heavy for what I needed to do. So cut off a little strand, go to the branch that I want to bring down really quickly. Right there, you can see it's coming down. And then what I do is I tie it off. Now, sometimes these branches are much heavier and much thicker, so it's not as easy to do this. You can see it coming down. So, but this one is so thin. And in terms of, say you got wire marks on it, I mean, if you do this really quickly, if you do this right, it sets really quickly. I mean, you can always put some tubing on it to protect it, but this is so light that it's not really going to do much. I'm not too concerned about it. So now you can see I brought that down, and I can start to see a little bit more of the branches that I can use to direct. So now I've got that one coming down, develop this area, and that'll make a really nice lower back branch coming on this side. So now I can go in and look, see what else I have. This one over here, this one right here, I'll do that as well. All right, so some of my friends, you don't have to use wire. Some of my friends will use like a plastic twine or a plastic rope. I think it's like a nylon plastic rope. But that works as well. And what's cool about that is sometimes those will just break down over time. And then you're done. And then you just let it do its thing. And then by the time it sets, they'll break away. And you basically don't have to take it off just because it weathers away. But you can see I can bring some branches down really easily. And it starts to get a little bit more shape. So then I can evaluate as I'm going through here, do I have any branches that I don't like that are going too tall? If they end up growing too tall and I've got side ones coming out, that's okay. I'll just cut the side ones later. There's this guy right here. So you don't always have to put wire on everything. And the awesome thing about junipers is that when you put wire, you can really shape it really easily and quickly. But guy wire is a really easy shortcut that you can do. All you gotta do is make sure you anchor it to something strong that you're not pulling back up. Otherwise, you're going to be kind of undoing work that you did earlier when you were bringing the branches down. Okay, I mean, that is barely any tension at all. And then I know I brought that back down, so I need to cut that back. Okay, so now I've got that one going in a nice spot. This guy's the one that I am actually going to have to wire. And this one right here, let me see. That one, I'm going to cut it back, and I'm going to let the side ones develop so I don't have too thick of a branch up there. Okay, this guy right here is actually growing really nicely. Got really strong growth here, and we'll cut this one back as well. Okay, originally I wanted to keep it, like this one I wanted to keep. I think this is going to be key in developing this area. Now I've got one going straight up right here, but he's kind of nice. He fills in some gaps here, but he is growing a little bit too tall, so I'm going to cut it back a little bit. Wire this guy really quickly, find a good anchor spot. Okay, so I wired that one down, and that's staying in a nice spot, but it looks unnatural right there. I need to really wait. This one right here, I wired this one down. I'm gonna let that lignify right there, and then I'm gonna cut it back, but really what I need is some branches coming off right here to give it the proper placement, because this branch right here is kind of faking it right now. It's just kind of putting it right there, covering this area, but where it needs to happen is right here. So all I gotta do is wait for that. So what I did was I applied some wire up at the top, at the crown, and that's always kind of the hardest part, is you want that crown to be a nice kind of sweep down on the sides. So sometimes you do have to apply some wire at the crown, just because the guy wire won't always get it in the exact spots that you want it. So I had a spot over here that was empty, and it was this one right here was sticking straight up, so I had to bring that down. That's what I did right there. Same with over here. This one was coming out this way, so I used a little bit of wire, and it's not anchored to the trunk, it's just anchored to the thicker part of the branch that comes off to the younger growth right here, and you just bring that down just like that. These two guys, those two, we're not going to touch yet. They're too young, but eventually I'm going to bring them back this way and down, so I'm not going to touch that yet. And if you go here, I did about 4 of them, 1, 2, 1 on the other side, and 4 on the apex, just with some really, maybe like 1.5 wire. Doesn't have to be that thick, maybe some 1.5 wire, so I just put that right there, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I have about 4, 2, 3, 4, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4 guy wires that I put on this tree, on this this adjustment right here. I pruned everything back, so if I scoop back, I pruned all the growth back just into the shape, and if there's young growth, I just kind of left it alone, like these guys right here. But in terms of maintenance for this tree, I think I'm good with it for now. And I'm just gonna leave it like this. Let these guys, once these guys are all set, I'll remove all the wire, and then I'll go back to just regular clip and grow pruning. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Pyracanthas aren't worked on that often. I mean, they got berries, they got flowers. I think they're great. But let me know if you have any other favorites that you'd like to work on as well. All right, so hit that subscribe button. It lets me know if you guys enjoy the videos. Otherwise, thanks for watching.